Today we'll show you how to install a Reese Elite Series Underbed Gooseneck Complete Hitch with pop-in ball kit, part number 30158-68, into a 2017 Chevy Silverado 2500 heavy-duty pickup with a 6.5-foot bed. For a complete list of compatible part numbers, as well as a complete step-by-step instruction sheet for this installation, visit ReeseProducts.com. To prepare for and ensure a quick, quality installation, check all the provided parts against the parts list included with the Reese Elite Series rail kit. This will also help you familiarize yourself with the parts in the kit. During this installation, we'll be using the following tools. For the sake of this installation, we'll lower the spare tire. This will also provide more room while installing the kit. To begin, remove all of the passenger side truck bed bolts holding the truck bed to the vehicle frame. Loosen, but do not remove the driver's side bed bolts to maintain the truck bed alignment. Lift the rear passenger side of the truck bed and insert 2 wood blocks to provide the required clearance to insert the 2 underbed base rails. Next, locate the rear heat shield underneath the truck. This heat shield may need to be trimmed, depending on the style of truck you're installing it on, to allow for proper clearance of the base rails underneath the truck bed. For proper trimming measurements and requirements, refer to the installation instructions. For this installation, we'll remove the fastening screws attaching the heat shield to the vehicle's frame while keeping the heat shield in place. We'll now begin the base rail installation on the passenger side of the vehicle. With the flat side up, insert the first base rail above the frame through the rear wheel well and slide it parallel to the rear axle behind the rear hat channel. Lift the rail into position so that it sits evenly on both sides of the frame while sandwiching the heat shield. Slide the second base rail through the same wheel well. Position it parallel to the axle behind the fuel cell and forward of the rear hat channel. Make sure the rail rests on the frame evenly on both sides while also sandwiching the heat shield. For trucks with an 8-foot bed, please refer to the provided installation manual for proper placement of the base rails. Once the base rails are in place, insert the welded nut and spacer assembly through the opening of the rails and over the bolt holes. Next, loosely attach the passenger side frame bracket to the rails using the provided 3/4 inch hex bolts and conical washers to the recently placed welded nut and spacer assembly. Repeat this same process to attach the driver's side frame bracket. After the brackets have been fastened to the rails, loosely attach the frame brackets to the frame. Begin by threading the provided pull wire through both bolt holes of the frame bracket. Then pull through the access hole on the back of the vehicle frame. Attach the 5/8 inch carriage bolts and square hole spacers to the pull wire and guide it back through the chassis using the access hole. Loosely attach the 5/8 conical washers and nuts to the bolts on the outside of the frame bracket. Repeat these steps to attach the frame bracket on the driver's side of the vehicle. Next, measure and mark where to drill the 1/8 inch pilot holes in the bed of the truck, where the Reese Elite 5th wheel pucks will fit into the underbed mounting rail system. First, measure side to side in the truck bed to find its center and draw a straight vertical line. From the center line, we'll measure 15 inches to the left and 15 inches to the right, and draw 2 more vertical lines down the truck bed. For this 6.5-foot bed, we will then measure 32 5/8 inches from the rear edge of the truck bed to mark the rear puck hole center. For trucks with an 8-foot bed, please refer to the installation manual for proper measurements. From the rear puck hole center, measure 13 inches toward the truck's cab and mark the forward puck hole center. Repeat these steps on both sides of the truck bed to locate all 4 puck hole centers. Once your marks are complete, check your measurements by measuring diagonally to see that your marks are square to each other. Use a center punch to create a dimple to drill your pilot holes. Under the truck, remove the bolts attaching the frame brackets to the mounting rails. Move the base rails rearward or forward to prevent interference when drilling the pilot holes for the puck locations in the truck bed. Before drilling, check underneath the truck bed for any potential risks to the vehicle's components, such as brake lines and fuel tanks, and make appropriate safeguards to protect them from damage. In the bed of the truck, drill the 4 pilot holes. then use a 3 1/4 inch hole saw to drill the puck hole locations. If needed, file the edges of the newly drilled holes and apply a coat of touch-up paint to help prevent against rust. Next, move the base rails back into place and loosely reattach them to the frame brackets. From the truck bed, attach the pucks and trim rings to the rails. Using a 5/8 inch flat washer, 5/8 inch button head screw, and lock washer. Use a torque wrench to tighten the pucks to 100 foot-pounds. Place your pre-assembled Reese Elite fifth wheel hitch into the pucks and secure in place. With the Reese Elite fifth wheel hitch fitting easily into the puck mounts, you're ready to tighten all of the hardware to final torque specification. First, torque all 3/4 inch hex bolts attaching the base rails to the frame brackets to 260 foot-pounds. Then torque all 5/8 inch rail kit hex bolts attaching the frame brackets to the truck frame to 170 foot-pounds. The Reese Elite fifth wheel hitch is now ready to safely tow. When the Reese Elite fifth wheel hitch is removed from the truck bed, you have full use of the truck bed without any interference. With the Reese Elite underbed mounting rail already installed for the fifth wheel, you can now install the Reese Elite underbed bolt-on gooseneck head with pop-in ball. To begin, mark the center line of the bed by measuring between the fender wells. Using the center line, measure 42 3/8 inches from the rear edge of the truck bed to mark the gooseneck center. Center punch a dimple on your center mark and drill a pilot hole for your puck hole center. Using a 3.5 inch hole saw, drill the opening for the gooseneck assembly. File the edges of the newly drilled hole and apply a coat of touch-up paint to help prevent against rust. Back underneath the truck bed, you may need to trim the vehicle's heat shield to allow for proper clearance of the gooseneck assembly. Hold the gooseneck assembly into position and use it as a template to mark the heat shield for trimming. Using a pair of tin snips, trim along the markings. Lift the gooseneck assembly back into place and align it with the gooseneck bolt holes located on the bottom of the fifth wheel base rails. Using the 3/4 inch hex bolts and toothed conical washers, attach the gooseneck assembly to the rails. From the bed of the truck, check that the collar of the gooseneck assembly aligns with the opening cut earlier. Once the top of the gooseneck collar is aligned, tighten the gooseneck hardware to proper torque specification of 180 foot-pounds. Notice how easy the Reese Elite pop-in ball inserts into the gooseneck receiver and how easy the safety chain loops lock into place. When not in use, these hitch attachments can be quickly and easily removed, allowing for full, unobstructed use of the truck bed. That wraps up the installation of the Reese Elite Series Underbed Gooseneck Complete Hitch with Pop-In Ball Kit, part number 30158-68. For more information on this and other great products from Reese, visit reeseproducts.com. Reese, pioneering performance.